The inherent desire to succeed and exceed is one that is deeply rooted within the depths of the human psyche, and much of our continual and considerable progression as a species has been influenced by this desire directly, as all innovation is largely fueled by competition and the desire to further exceed and improve upon the ideas and push past the boundaries established by other humans of previous generations. However, while this largely intangible desire exists within a majority of people, if not to some extent at least, all people across the planet, there are some for whom this metaphorical fire burns brighter, so to speak. People willing to truly push the various boundaries of our existence and the concept of what is humanly possible, further than what was thought to have been possible before. Throughout my time creating videos here on my channel, I've covered a large number of people who could be described as such individuals: Naomi Uemura, Henry Toivonen, John Waterman, John Backer, Marc-Andre Leclerc, Uli Steck, Dean Potter, and Dan Osman, just to name a few. The reason such individuals fostering this overall incredibly rare passion to push the boundaries of our known potential as people are regularly featured here on the channel, however, is a byproduct of their impassioned pursuits, as often to attempt to exceed the previously established limits of what is thought to be humanly possible, an individual must risk existence itself, their life, to do so, tiptoeing along a razor-thin margin between life and death. Jessica Jessi Combs was born on July 27, 1980, in the small, rural town of Rockerville, South Dakota. When she was just 2 years old, her family would relocate from Rockerville to Piedmont, another small rural community in South Dakota. Jessi would spend the entirety of her formative years living in South Dakota and graduated from Stevens High School in Rapid City, South Dakota in the spring of 1998. Throughout her childhood spent living on the vast, wide-open prairie lands of the South Dakotan steppe, as is largely the custom in most rural American communities. Jessi would learn how to drive and properly operate a number of off-road vehicles, such as quads and other 4x4 vehicles, at a young age, and would partake in local races, an activity which was inspired by her great-grandmother, who was a well-known steam car driver in the early 20th century. Jessi was an adept driver, and throughout her teenage years, her interest in all things automotive would further deepen, and following her high school graduation, she would enroll at Wyotech in Laramie, Wyoming, a technical college specializing in training students for careers as technicians within the automotive industry. Following her graduation from Wyotech in 2004, Wyotech would professionally contract Jessi, as well as another graduate of the program, to custom build a car from scratch to display at a trade show, and thus the duo were also given a strict 6-month time limit to complete the project. They would complete the build successfully, and building upon this experience, over the next few months, Jessi would make her TV debut when she landed a spot as a guest fabricator on the TLC show Overhaulin', and this appearance would catch the attention of Spike TV for a more permanent arrangement, and she soon landed the role of hostess on one of their shows, Extreme 4x4, in 2005. She'd remain in this role over the next 4 years. However, after appearing in over 90 episodes of the show, she would suffer a major accident while filming for the show when a 550-pound bandsaw fell on her, which nearly left her permanently paralyzed. Following her departure from Extreme 4x4 in 2009, Jessi would go on to land another television role as a guest member of the build team on the Discovery show Mythbusters, where she'd appear in 12 episodes of the show's 7th season. Following her appearance in this role, Jessi would step back from the television industry in order to focus on pursuing her passion for racing. 2 years later in 2011, Jessi would make her professional racing debut as a Class 10 driver in the Score Baja 1000. Jessi would perform well in the race and place second in Class 10. The following year in 2012, however, Jessi would once again return to TV, this time as a co-host for the television series Overhaulin', which had since been picked up and relaunched by Discovery Channel following her guest appearance on the show years prior. However, Jessi would return to professional racing the following year in 2013, when she would set her sights on another, rather different type of racing, the pursuit of the world land speed record. In 2013, Jessi would join up with the North American Eagle Project as a driver for the project's jet-powered race car, which they hoped could challenge the previously established land speed record. On October 9th, 2013, Jessi and the team made their way to the Alvord Desert in southeastern Oregon to attempt to break the standing women's land speed records, which each had stood for decades. Jessi would jet across the desert in the North American Eagle, reaching a top speed of 440 miles per hour and averaging a speed of 398 miles per hour across the entire distance of her run. The latter would thoroughly shatter the previous established record of 308.5 miles per hour, which was set all the way back in 1965. Just to briefly clarify how land speed records are undertaken and actually recorded, drivers attempt their run along a set distance while simultaneously trying to maintain the highest average speed possible across the entire distance, as well as reach a new top speed, and both are recorded as separate records. While Jessi's run had topped the average women's land speed record, she notably had fallen short of the women's top speed record of 512.7 miles per hour, achieved by Kitty O'Neill in the year 1975. Following her triumphant record-breaking land speed record run, the next year in 2014, Jessi would return to professional 4x4 racing as a driver in the Ultra 4 Spec class for the Falcon Tire team. Jessi would quickly establish herself as a top driver within the Ultra 4 Spec class after she won her debut race of the season, following up this performance with further podium placements over the season's next two races, placing second and third respectively. Notably, however, this third place finish would actually mark the low point of her season's placements, as she would thoroughly dominate her competition during the remaining three events of the 2014 season, as she'd go on to win all three, which would earn her the title of Ultra 4 Spec Class National Champion. Fueled by the momentum of her championship season, Jessi would compete in one final Ultra 4 Spec Class event in 2014, the King of the Hammers event, where she would once again demonstrate why she had been crowned national champion in the class, as she'd round out 2014 with another first place finish at the event. The following year in 2015, Jessi would return as a driver in the Score Baja 1000, but this time she would compete as a driver in Class 7 instead. Jessi's performance in the race would largely mirror the results of her previous efforts as a Class 10 driver, as she'd once again finish in second place in her entered vehicle class. Later that year in 2015, Jessi would make her professional rally racing debut as a driver in the all-women's Rally Aisha de Gazelle in southern Morocco. Jessi would perform well in her rally debut, finishing 10th place overall and first place amongst first-time competitors in the race. The following year in 2016, Jessi would return to race in the Ultra 4 The King of the Hammers event again, this time entering as a driver in the EMC modified class of vehicles. Jessi would resume her Ultra 4 racing career right where she had left it off, as she placed first in her class once again. Later in 2016, she'd again attempt to break Kitty O'Neill's top land speed record in the North American Eagle. However, after she'd reached a top speed of 477 miles per hour during the run, the car began to veer to the left, and so Jessi would attempt to deploy its high-speed parachute to no avail as it failed to deploy. And so, desperate to lower her speed, she would then attempt to deploy the vehicle's low-speed parachute, which similarly failed to deploy as well. Fortunately, despite this, she was able to remain in relative control of the Eagle until she managed to bring it to a stop, a harrowing brush with death at high speed. The following year in 2017, Jessi would once again enter the King of the Hammers event with the same vehicle she had won the event with the year prior. However, this time she would enter as a driver in the 4400 Unlimited class instead. This change of vehicle class would indeed prove to have a significant impact on Jessi's performance in the event, as she would finish the race in 12th place in 2017. The following year in 2018, Jessi would return as a driver of the North American Eagle, as she again refocused her efforts towards breaking Kitty O'Neill's long-standing women's top land speed record. Jessi would set a new personal best of a top speed of 483 miles per hour in October of 2018, notable progress in her journey towards the record. The following year, on August 27, 2019, Jessi and the North American Eagle project team would return to the flat, dry lake beds in the desert in Alfred, Oregon, for yet another attempt to break Kitty O'Neill's 1975 women's top land speed record of 512.7 miles per hour. Jessi was determined to finally break the record during this attempt, and as she began her run, hurtling across the desert in the jet-powered race car at high and ever-increasing speed, her determination was apparent as her speed began to creep up higher than she'd ever managed to reach before, first reaching the 500 miles per hour milestone, then 510 miles per hour, and not long after this, she continued to accelerate to reach a speed of 513 miles per hour, officially breaking Kitty O'Neill's previous women's top land speed record. However, Jessi's speed would only continue to climb from here, as she approached and soon crossed the threshold of 520 miles per hour. However, as the Eagle reached a top speed of just under 523 miles per hour, Jessi's record run would come to an abrupt and tragic conclusion as the Eagle's front wheel struck an object in the desert, which subsequently caused its front wheel assembly to collapse. The sudden massive loss of momentum at such a high speed violently and nearly instantly slammed Jessi's head into the chassis of the vehicle, killing her instantly before the Eagle erupted into flames as the team watched in horror and disbelief. Following her tragic death, an investigation into the accident found that the front wheel assembly had likely collapsed after striking an object in the desert, and after a thorough inspection, the rest of the vehicle had shown no other signs of mechanical failure or malfunction, and it was determined that this strike had simply come as the result of simple, unfortunate happenstance. An autopsy of Jessi's remains concluded that she had in fact died nearly instantly as the result of extreme blunt force trauma to her head and had not survived until the car burst into flames. Furthermore, Jessi's run was later confirmed to have reached a top speed of 522.783 miles per hour, and she was awarded the women's top land speed record posthumously. Jessi Combs was a talented driver and television personality who was well liked within the wider automotive community, and thanks to her appearance on TV, her passion for cars has been displayed to and shared with millions of people across the globe. Thank you all for watching.